Page 99, Prelude in E-flat major. On page 98, they're making an attempt there to explain to you the primary chords of E-flat major and their inversions and all that. I thought we already covered this. Just real briefly, let's go over it. You know the primary chords are the 1-4 and the 5-7 chords in any key. So in E-flat major has 3 flats. It's getting complicated already, I know. So we take the 1 chord, which is built on the first step of E-flat major, which is an E-flat. So we have a chord. Do it in both hands, that's why I'm doing it. That's the 1 chord. Now, when it's in this position, where it's every other note, and the bottom note identifies the chord, E-flat, that's called the root position. If I turn it over, rearrange the notes, and I say I take the E-flat and I put it on top, I get here. That's first inversion. We inverted it, we turned it over. I can do it again, put the G on top. That's second inversion. So that's the 1 chord, the root position, and the inversions. Ta-da! The other chords work the same way. So if I take a 4 chord, which is built on the 4th step of the E-flat major scale, which is an A-flat, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the 4 chord. If I invert it, I turn it over. Put the E-flat on top. Put the C on top. That's the 4 chord. Yay team. Now the 5 chord, built on the 5th step of the E-flat major scale, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This chord. We normally do the 5-7 chord. Let's do the 5 chord first, and we'll come back to the 5-7. 5 chord, I turn it over. This is root position. I turn it over, put the B flat on top. I'm going to come down here. I'm getting too high for me. First inversion, and I turn it over again. I get this second inversion. That's the 5 chord. If I want the 5-7 chord, I just add another note here. In case you're wondering, what's the 7? It is the 7th above the root of that chord. The bottom note of the chord, it's just here. Remember, we're in A-flat major, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the 7th. So it's the 7th chord. 4 notes in this one. I'm going to separate the hands. So that's better. That's root position. They're at every other. The notes in the chord are every other note in the scale, not in the piano, in the scale. There's 1 note here, and there's a note here, and there's a note here. There's a note in between each one in that scale. I turn this over, I put the B flat on top, and I get this. That's first inversion, because this was root. First inversion, second inversion, I put this on top. And then I put this on, this is second inversion, this, and then I put the F on top. That's third inversion. And if I put the A flat on top, I'm back to root. So I get an extra inversion because there's 4 notes instead of 3. Now normally with the 5-7 chord, so you don't have to use all the notes in a chord. So normally with the 5-7 chord, is we'll use the first inversion, which is here. And then we just don't use the F, and it's here. And that's typically how you'd see it. I mean, you could see it in any other way, but sometimes they leave out the D and they use these notes. It's still a 5-7 chord. So the 1 chord, 4 chord, 5-7 chord, 1 chord. That's page 98. Knock yourself out, have fun with that one. Let's go on to page 99 and talk about this prelude in E-flat major. Duh, E-flat, 3 flats. Been through this before. Going to start with the right hand. 2/4 time, 4th finger here. 1 and 2 and 3. Remember the staccato? Don't accent that staccato. People tend to do that. Don't. It's just, it gets a natural accent because it's the first beat of the measure, but that's it. So it's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and there's another staccato. I don't know why they want you to move your hand. You're starting out here. Going on, you could stay in this position and play these other notes just fine, unless they want you to get out of here so the left hand can come up. I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, you can leave your hand there and play that G in the second measure with second finger. Up to you. And then the chord is one chord. Then we have the minor. Got a G sharp. It's an E flat minor chord because we lowered the third. That's the difference between major and minor one chords. Is the middle note goes down one for the minor. And the second line, you're up here. We do it again on these notes. And they want you to move again. I don't know why. Because you could play those notes just right where you're at. Okay. Then we have this chord. Remember the 5 chord? Not a 5/7, just a 5 chord. And then in the next line, we'll come down here. It would be a 4 chord, but it's a minor chord. C flat in there. And then going on, third measure, third line here. And the lift up in the 8th note. And then another chord, 1 chord up here. And then a 1 chord again. And then down here with a bunch of 1 chord staccatos, just a wrist staccato here. And I recommend you finger this 1, 2, 3 on this chord, because that prepares you for the half note that's coming up, the E flat, the B flat, E flat. You're right there. The whole chord is this. So we're starting out with these, and then we get this. That way you don't have to move your hand around. This is kind of a fast piece. Not real fast, kind of fast. Yeah. So it's here. And then you can come back down. It's real soft. That's the right hand. The left hand goes along with the right hand almost exactly. It's harmonious. And then I want your second finger here. Don't know why, because you can stay here. So I don't understand why they want you to move. I just stay where you're at. Just understand that these notes are not exactly following the same pattern as the right hand. And we'll get to that in a minute. Moving on. The chord. Got the 5 chord. Again, the next line, 5 chord again. And then you're coming up and doing it again on these notes. And they want you to move your hand again. I don't know why. I just stay there. And then at the end you have this chord, and then the next line is the 1 chord, and then we have this thing going on here in the third line, these 8th notes. We have this. Watch this fingering carefully. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, and 3. Now there's a number of different fingerings you can use with this. I'll just give you some ideas, and you'll have to decide on one, and then when you decide on one, you pencil in that fingering and you stick with it. Once you figure it out, stick with it. Don't be constantly changing back and forth. They want you to finger this way. 1. And the next measure it's a 1, 2, 1. Then going on, then a 3 on the E flat. That fingering is doable on this. That's kind of, we can handle that one. It's the first group of notes we got a problem with. So another fingering that I would recommend you try is this one. It's 2, and then in the next measure it's 2 on the F, and then a 1, then cross over with second finger on the A flat, and then reach down for the B flat. This way you don't have to use the thumb on if you don't want your hand up in here. So that works. Here. Moving on, at the chord at the end of the line is a 1 chord staccato here, and then the next line is the same chord And then you're coming down with the same chord again, staccato still. This is a 5-3-1 here is fine. And then here and here. That's the left. So work these hands out one at a time and then go put them together. At the beginning, you notice it's treble clef in both staves. I didn't point that out. You're up here. Same. And then here. Now which fingering you use there is up to you. They want you to go here. Either one is going to feel a little awkward because the pattern is different. So you work it out slowly. I'm going to leave my hand right where I started, here and here, and it's here with a 3 in the left hand and a 2 in the right hand. You just have to work that out slowly and gradually speed it up. And then the chords. And then second line up here. And again, I'm leaving my hands where they are. The pattern is the same as the first line, they're just different notes. And then here, the chord, and then here, and then here, and here, and then we get to the good part. And then the chords. See, the right hand, that's an accent chord, but it's a full quarter note. 1, 2. So it's 1, 2. And the staccato is not accented, so it's 1, 2, 1, 2. And then these triplets at the end, your hands are slightly overlapping. You put the right hand on top because it's got the black keys in the way. So, and you just alternate the hands with a trick. And you may have to just practice that. If it'll help you in this one, if you want, you can finger the left hand of 4, 2, 1, and that helps to get it out of the way. And you alternate them, and then you get in the rhythm. Once you can do this, get this first. When you can do that, put in the rhythm. 1 and 2 and 1, because they're triplets. You see how they're beamed together, the 3 notes at a time. There's a little 3 in the middle. Those are 8th note triplets. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2. And then the chords, and then the little soft chords, not little but soft. There's something I want to point out. In the third line down, when we get into these 8th notes, all the fun part, you remember. There's like 3 voices going on here. There's 1 voice in the right hand, and there's 2 voices in the left hand. You see the first note there. Look at the third measure on the third line. You have the 8th notes, the bars going across, the stem goes up, they're all 8th notes. And again, the next measure, that's 1 voice. And then you notice on the first note there, this is the third measure, third line, there's a stem going down. And that's a quarter note. That's the other voice. So it's going to sing this while the other voice down there plays the B flat. So you got to hold that note down when you play the B flat. Because that voice goes. That's what it's singing. So it's like they're singing the same notes for the most part, except that B flat is only played or sung by 1 voice. So hold the G down, and then hold the F down while you play the B flat. You need that. So watch out on that. It's a minor thing, but it's an important thing. And these are the little things we'll look at. Now, let's add the dynamics. It's loud here. You have to decide what that is. And then there's a crescendo. Well, I suggest you don't stay loud and crescendo beyond it. Come down and go back up to loud. It's not a big crescendo, it's a little crescendo. Come down. And then you crescendo to there. Crescendo back up to loud is what I'm saying. And then soft. soft, now loud again, crescendo again, come down and crescendo back up to loud. Now soft, very soft in the third line. Now this part is soft. And then sort of loud. And this is the bottom. The first one connects to the second one, but the second one is staccato. Again, now soft, and this has a crescendo molto. Molto means a whole lot, crescendo means get louder. You're going to go from soft to loud. The forte there, a couple measures, and you got to take your time with it. Don't get loud too soon is what I'm saying. Don't get loud until the half note. That's loud. And then soft, and then very soft. And then just what? That's sort of the dynamics. This is Allegro moderato. It's a moderately fast speed. Again, that's up to you on how that is. Your moderately fast is going to be different than my moderately fast, so you decide. But you go slow at first, make sure you have everything right, then you can gradually speed it up. And on top of that, they've added some pedals, so let's talk about the pedal. The pedal is used on the half notes, mainly, and it's overlapping pedal. So in the first line there, the last three measures, I'm going to push the notes down and then the pedal. I'm going to push the next notes down and then change the pedal. Again. And then I lift it up before I play the notes in the second measure, the second line. And then at the end of the second line, again with the chords, you push the notes down and then the pedal. The pedal lags behind the fingers here. So it's here and here and then here. Very soft. And then they're showing pedal on the first beat. That's to reinforce that quarter note. I would prefer you not use the pedal there and use the finger to hold it down. But if you want to use pedal on that one beat, that's all it's for, is for that quarter note. That way you can get off the quarter note with the finger, and the pedal will hold it down. I would prefer the finger do it. So I'm not recommending pedal on those two measures there. In the third line, that's the third measure and the fifth measure over. Then in the last measure, they're using the pedal to connect these chords, this one and this one. And you have to come up on the staccato because it's staccato. So you push it down right after you play the chord, or with it, either one will do here. And then lift it up when you play the other chord. That connects them. And then you have these staccatos. Not going to pedal that, I hope. And then you pedal the last chord, and then change it here, and leave it down. And then at the end, the pedal and the hands will come up at the same time, like so. To give you a little idea what it might sound like, you have this.